Well, the political standoff between President Hosni Mubarak's government and the so-called Committee of the Wise Men continues without any progress, really. The so-called Committee of the Wise Men has put forth their demands, which are also representative of some of the protesters' demands that President Hosni Mubarak step down and transfer power to Vice President Omar Suleiman to begin implementing constitutional reforms. But the president seems to be very much entrenched into holding on to power, at least until the end of his term in September. Many feel that is an attempt by the regime to consolidate its grip on power, and many simply feel they are just empty and false promises. They've seen promises about reform made in the past without being substantiated, and they fear this could possibly happen now. For his part, though, the belief is that if the president were to step down for any reason, he would transfer power to the speakers of the Egyptian parliament, and in that case, he would be forced, the speaker of the parliament would be forced to carry out elections in 60 days under the current constitution, and by many people's assessment, the current constitution is rigged in a way that it would favor the ruling National Democratic Party, because they would be the only ones allowed to nominate a candidate, and therefore the opposition parties would not be allowed to nominate any presidential candidate. So many are describing that really the ace in the president's back pocket, which is not allowing him to step down, and it's certainly something that is being used to back or push back the demands of the protesters and the opposition, saying it would lead to a bit of political vacuum and chaos without bringing the much needed reforms that the protesters and other members of Egypt's opposition are demanding. Now, all of this is happening as the protesters continue in Liberation Square, with some of them moving closer to the symbolic heart of Cairo at the Parliament building. There's a sit-in taking place there that is lasting throughout the course of the evening. And all of this against the backdrop of some very interesting developments with Egypt's labor force. Thousands of workers representing different sectors and industry have gone on strike, and it's a momentum that many of the protesters say will add to their cause for President Hosni Mubarak to step down. Whether or not these labor strikes continue to grow in the coming days will be watched very closely, because they represent a very important element of Egyptian society and could widen and increase perhaps the pressure against Hosni Mubarak to step down.